Alright, today I got an old limited weapon, the Daggers. Now I'm going to be taking them to the Reaper raid against the Reaper raid boss using only the Daggers. Before we start this video, I want to give a shout out to Nagi and Abrar Fayaz. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce your name, I'm so sorry. But I want to shout out these two fans who suggested I use the Daggers. And if you have a video idea for me, please let me know in the comments as I may do it in the next video and shout you out. Alright, and here's the build. I've got Prodigy on my Daggers. I've got the P Fresh pet and the Spooky Cat pet. I've got the Pumpkinhead cosmetic and the Reaper Scarf cosmetic here. I've got the HP and AP passive for healthy power, and I got the double damage perk. And as far as upgrades for my dagger, I've got 4 cooldown and 3 damage. These are great budget stats for people who are low on coins, but I would definitely recommend getting more cooldown for the daggers. Now with that out the way, let's see if this old weapon can take on a newer boss. Alright, and I just loaded in, and of course I've got 100 mastery on my daggers. If you don't know what the 100 mastery move does, it's reset drive, and it resets all the cooldowns on all your moves and fills your ultimate meter. First things first, I'm going to do a damage test without double damage, and then I'll do another damage test using the double damage perk. Alright, the first move is Umbreal Pierce. Let's see how much damage it does. That did about 480 damage. I'm making sure he's not going to teleport. Next I'm going to use Shadow Flash, and that did about 575 damage with some crits. Alright, and next up are the clones. The clones, they're definitely the weakest move, so let's just see how much damage they're going to do. They're just going to have to sit there in M1 and do very slow damage, so we're just going to have to wait to see what the damage is at the very end until they despawn. So far we're hitting 100 damage, which isn't that impressive. 200 damage now, and finally it's going to be 264 damage for the clones. And that was the damage testing without double damage perk. I'm going to get my double damage meter up by M1ing, and I'm going to use my skills right now since I can use my reset drive. You can see that the reset drive reset all my skills, so I'm ready to damage test again without having to wait for cooldowns. Alright, with double damage, let's test Umbreal Pierce. Alright, that did about 300 damage if you look at his health up top. For Shadow Flash, it's doing about 859 damage. And the moment of truth, time to test our clones. So I can see that... So I know that the double damage is buffing my attacks, but the clones still don't seem to be doing a lot of damage. The scaling is just extremely low on our clones, and we're hitting 100 damage now. We're getting close to 200 damage. 200. Looks like it's ending with 282 damage. So to be honest, so far it seems our damage seems to be super weak, but we do have reset drive here, so maybe if we spam cooldowns we're able to get high DPS, and since we're able to spam cooldowns we're able to spam our double damage perk, so let's just find out and let's see how long this fight's gonna take. Alright, finally, that took a long time. 23 minutes and 43 seconds. Sorry, I'll repeat myself. 23 minutes, 46 seconds. Alright, my final thoughts. This genuinely might be one of the weakest weapons in the entire game. And I know that during the fight, I just started using my ultimate move. I mean, my damage output was so low, I was considering using my ultimate move. And if you aren't familiar to how strong ultimate moves are in the game compared to your other moves, if you max potential an item with 7 upgrades and you have max mastery on it, and a maxed out build with pets and cosmetics like this, your skills become so strong that you don't want to bother using your ultimate move since it's so weak compared to your skills. But the fact that the daggers at max potential have skills that are so weak, I considered using my ultimate move, says a lot about the weapon. Towards the end of the fight, I just stopped using my ultimate because I wasn't even sure if it was actually making me do more damage or not, but the results were basically the same. The clones in the daggers might just be the weakest and one of the worst moves in the entire game, and it sucks because Dagger's entire build revolves around the clones. Since it has a move that resets your cooldown to do more clones and its ultimate move also just gives you more clones, the fact that the clones are such an integral part of the Daggers moveset and that they suck so much is why the Daggers overall isn't a very strong weapon. It's really unfortunate since this is a limited mythic item, and the fact that this limited mythic item costed more than the OG scythe really just says a lot about the weapon. It says to me that the weapon is in desperate need of a buff. The other skills do fine mid-tier level damage, but you desperately want to buff the clones. The buff that I've been saying ever since its release, that when the clones die, they should release some kind of explosion of slashes, dealing a decent amount of damage afterwards. Though to be honest with you, I don't think that idea or any sort of buff is going to happen with the daggers. They're probably going to keep on being one of the weakest weapons in the entire game. Heck, even Greatsword got a buff eventually. There was a time when Greatsword was one of the worst weapons in the entire game, but now the Greatsword can definitely outdamage the daggers. I've done a video where I soloed the Sir Jacky raid boss using only the Greatsword, and that run took about 15 minutes. I know that Sir Jacky is different than the Reaper raid boss because the Reaper raid boss teleports more, but even if you add an extra 5 minutes of chasing the Reaper boss around, which is unrealistic by the way, the Greatsword would still take 20 minutes to solo the Reaper raid boss, which is still faster than the daggers. So do I recommend the daggers? Not at all. Maybe for endless, and I guess you can bring them to campaign, but I would not recommend bringing these to the raid. Even my pure hands were able to outdamage the daggers by beating Sir Jacky faster. And just like I said for the Greatsword, I used pure hands in a video to solo the Sir Jacky raid boss, and that took 18 minutes. Even if we add extra 5 minutes like I said for the Greatsword, that's still 23 minutes, which is the exact same time as the daggers. Why are the daggers an epic level strength weapon? So sorry if this is your favorite weapon. The design is really cool, and the clones are super interesting in concept, but this weapon is just way too weak for you to see any reward in damage. But anyways, that's gonna be it for this video. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments. I do tolerate slander against the dagger, so go crazy in the comments. If this is your favorite weapon, no hard feelings, you can still bring this weapon to endless or campaign. But thank you so much for watching and tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, please.